airplane. We're going for a night flight tonight. Going to head down to Toronto and do a city tour and then come back. It's a supermoon tomorrow night, but it's meant to be rain and cloud and snow and all sorts of horrible weather, so the moon's looking pretty fantastic tonight, so we thought we'd go. Most of the time we end up flying, it's pitch black, so it'd be nice to actually see a whole bunch of stuff.
Are you going to Pearson there, James?
Yeah, I was thinking about doing it.
Good for you.
I'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah, please do. I'll do it another time.
.23, 130 miles an hour, and we're still doing 1,200 feet a minute.
And vehicle traffic, Yankee Echo Lima, currently 8 nautical to the east of the field at 3,000 feet inbound for landing, Peterborough.
Look at that moon. So night VFR flying is a truly fantastic experience. I mean, even night IFR flying is also fantastic, but the ability to fly VFR at night is something that is quite special to us here in Canada and in the United States. Lots of countries don't allow it. It really is something that I would strongly recommend, if you haven't done, that you look at and see if it's something you enjoy, and then get the training so that you can do it yourself. It's very quiet at night. It's generally very smooth conditions, and it's just a completely different world. Now, that last statement, it's a completely different world, is so true.
Peterborough traffic, Yankee Echo Lima, established on the mid downwind for runway 27, full stop, Peterborough.
Because of that, we need to be very careful about how we conduct night flight. Everything is more difficult at night. Once it becomes completely dark, you can't see clouds unless they're being illuminated by, a very strong moon or the lights of a city. But if it's totally pitch black, you can't see clouds. You can't see weather. So these factors make things a lot more difficult. If there's no cultural lighting on the ground and it's a dark, overcast night with no moon, actually, it's really not legal to be VFR flying at night, because VFR flying at night still requires us to have visual reference to the ground.
Yankee Echo Lima, turning left base for runway 27, full stop, Peterborough.
The only way that can happen is that there's sufficient cultural lighting or ambient moon star lighting to provide us with that background. So on a bright full moon night, it can be really quite fantastic. If it's a bright full moon and the snow on the ground, it's almost like daylight. It really is fantastic. So we do have to be careful that it's not so dark and that we're not in such a remote area that we actually don't legally have the visual reference for night flying. Then we just need to be very cautious about everything else we do. We don't do anywhere near as much night flying, so you're not as experienced, or as you haven't got your skill set quite so brushed up. Normally, we sleep at night and we work in the day, so fatigue can be a lot more of an issue. Our eyes consume a lot more oxygen at night, so they recommend that you don't fly above 5,000 feet at night without supplemental oxygen. And obviously, your physical fitness level, whether you're a smoker or not, is really going to also affect that. So these are all things to take into consideration. So basically, we want to really make sure we're safe to fly from a physical point of view. We really want to make sure the weather's good, and we want to have much higher weather minimums. So better visibility, better cloud coverage, less chance of precipitation, and keeping in mind that it cools off at night, and as the air cools, its ability to hold moisture reduces, and we get closer to that dew point, saturation. That's when we start getting ground fog and things like that developing. So we're going to be really careful that we don't get ourselves into a into a difficult situation. So not to scare you, but there is a lot of things to be cautious of there. If you could find an experienced night pilot to do some training with you, that'll be really beneficial, because certain airports, especially if they don't have approach lighting, they can really throw some nasty illusions at you, and those are illusions that you've got to be really, really aware of. And we're going to rely a lot more on the instrumentation in the aircraft when flying at night, especially if we're taking off on a dark night from a runway that doesn't have much cultural lighting off the end of it. We get what's called a black hole effect, and we get an illusion of pitching up, and that means we inadvertently pitch down, and if we don't check what we're doing, we end up with a sort of controlled flight into terrain, and that can happen, and does happen, and even to very experienced pilots. So there's a few different illusions that are make it more challenging, but you know, if as long as you are diligent and prepared, it's a very, very rewarding experience. Now, with your night flying, you're going to need a few extra bits of equipment in the airplane. You need to have a heated pitot tube, you need to have a stall warning device, you've got to have a attitude indicator and directional gyro. You got to obviously have landing lights if you're carrying passengers, and you need to have nav lights as well. And then you need to make sure all that's working. So tonight we did the walk around, and the port nav light wasn't working. A quick check told me the bulb was dead, and I stole the one off the father's teal, and away we go. So definitely need to check those. Make sure you've got an extra flashlight, some illumination on board, and just again making sure that you're well prepared for what's going on. So as I mentioned, preparation's obviously always important for the night flying. If we just happen to be going around the local area and returning to the same airport, okay, everything seems quite straightforward. If we're trying to get places, fuel can become an issue, so calling ahead and seeing the status there. The other thing that can be interesting sometimes, and you might not expect it, is certain airports have different types of lighting systems. If you're going into an uncontrolled airport in Canada, obviously very common to have RCAL type lighting, pilot operated lighting that is activated by clicking the radio a certain number of times for different intensity levels. Some airports, due to their proximity to other airports and things like that, will have a separate frequency to activate the RCAL lighting. Separate, that is, to the mandatory frequency or aerodrome traffic frequency that's in use for the airport. So that can be quite interesting, especially if you're in a single COM airplane. If you are in a single COM airplane, I would highly recommend carrying a portable radio with you. You can get adapters to plug it into your headset so you can communicate, although the range will be quite limited. More importantly, though, from 10 to 15 miles away with a handheld, even inside the cockpit, you'll be able to switch the RCAL lighting on. And an electrical failure in the airplane or a radio failure in the airplane at night can be a little stressful if you are struggling to get the illumination on at the airport. The transition between daylight and actual darkness, sort of that sunset twilight time period, can be quite interesting sometimes, because the sort of red illumination cockpit lighting, instrument backlighting, and that is of sort of insufficient intensity to sort of overcome the remaining ambient lighting outside the airplane. But there isn't sufficient of that to see the instruments, so sometimes just playing with your cockpit illumination, you can find a setup that you really like. On certain IFR flights at night, because of the weather, you're not looking outside anyway, so you're concentrating on what's happening in the cockpit. I like to have a little bit of the extra light on, because I can see switches a lot easier, and I'm not going fumbling for them. And what I don't like at night, especially, or even in the daytime when you're IFR flying, is I don't like throwing my head all over the place. That's a good way to give yourself some vestibular illusions. So I like the extra illumination so that I can fly and I can read everything and see everything, and I look with my eyes, and I move around that way, and I can keep a good focus. Whereas without the lighting on, even just with the red cockpit lighting on at night, like you just can't read what the different switches are. The other option, obviously, is the headlamp. I like to have the headlamp, and I think I've had that come with some of the other videos, and it's got a straight red light that we can switch on, and that provides excellent illumination. Pearson Tower, Piper Aztec, Golf Whiskey, India, Quebec.
India, Quebec Tower, Falcon 9, altimeter 2990.
Whiskey, India, Quebec.
India, Quebec, I got the lights up a bit for you there on 33 right. Do you have that in sight?
Whiskey in Quebec, we are looking. I'm pretty sure I've got the rails there at the end of the runway. Yeah, Whiskey in Quebec, we've got the field in sight there.
Whiskey India, Quebec, roger. You can continue inbound for 33 right. There's just one crossing at the threshold.
Whiskey in Quebec. You would think that that's a lot easier to spot at night, but it is not.
Okay, Quebec, the wind 020 at 6, altimeter is 2990. If I didn't give you that initially, you are cleared the low approach overshoot runway 33 right.
Thank you very much, sir. Clear for the low approach and overshoot for runway 33 right. Whiskey in Quebec.
Quebec, not much going on, so if you want, you can plan to do this one, and at the end, do a left turnout, and we'll set you up for another one onto 15 right, and then get you going towards Peterborough.
That's really appreciated for Whiskey in Quebec. I think next time I'll give the center a call and see about maybe doing an IFR flight plan down here and seeing how much I embarrass myself with a really big airport.
Yeah, more than welcome. I think we have more low and overs than IFR traffic now.
But it'd be good practice for me, other than just, going to like Kitchener, London, that sort of size airport.
Canada 628 tower, line up runway 06 left.
Okay, line up 6 left, Canada 628.
Whiskey in Quebec, you can start the turn for the low and over on 15 right whenever you like.
We'll start the turn here for the low and over on 15 right for Whiskey in Quebec.
Canada 628, contact 1288. Good night.
128, good night, Canada 628.
Whiskey in Quebec, you just want to make that a left base for runway 05 for the low and over?
Actually, yeah, if we could do that, that would be great. I just realized what I'd done. Sorry about that.
Whiskey in Quebec, not a problem. Clear low and over, runway is 05 now, wind 0207.
Low and over 05, Whiskey in Quebec.
Tower, Quebec 35, Whiskey. 35 Tower, proceed under runway 24 right. Under runway 24 right, Quebec 35.
Well, this is just totally bizarre.
Push 35, I guess left at the end on to 6 right. Left on the end on 6 right, section 35.
If you enjoyed the video, please remember to like and subscribe to the channel to get updates about future videos we're doing. And happy tailwinds!